awesome to have Westwood One Sports and BetMGM's Nick Kostos here with us to talk all things betting. And let's start with the talk of the town here in Chicago. Maxx Crosby, is he going to be a Chicago Bear? The Raiders are obviously looking to get fair value back for him when it comes to trading Maxx Crosby. Let's talk about things from a betting perspective, though, because we've seen the odds for Crosby to the Bears move from plus 200 to now minus 145. What kind of information or just betting action usually drives this big of a swing?
Yeah, Tina. So what I would say about when you have a situation like this with a player being moved, is a player going to be traded? Where is a player going to be signed? Generally, it does not take a lot of money to move a market like this, and the money does not have to be smart. So that does not mean that Maxx Crosby will or won't be a Chicago Bear. And I would say Chicago, along with Dallas, are probably the two most likely teams to trade for Maxx Crosby. But if I'm a Bears fan, I don't know if I'm putting my customized Maxx Crosby order in just yet. And you're looking at it, Tina, just from a pure football perspective. I actually think the retirement of center Drew Dalman earlier in the week maybe hampers the Bears from making a move for Maxx Crosby. Offensive line was obviously such a strength for Chicago in Ben Johnson's first year, and give Ryan Poles, the general manager, a lot of credit. Like, remade that offensive line on the fly. They lose Ozzie Trapillo, who was their left tackle, to a serious leg injury in the playoffs, and now Drew Dalman retires, and that's going to be two positions they're going to have to take care of now this offseason. And maybe they're able to have the resources to do that and also trade for Maxx Crosby. My sense is that the Dalman retirement maybe put Chicago behind the eight ball a little bit. If I had to guess right now, if I had to bet, I would say that he goes elsewhere, not to the Chicago Bears.
Okay. When you see the line shift like that, does that suggest that insiders are hearing something, or could it just simply be like heavy public betting pushing the line here?
So I'm going to guess here. I'm going to guess that it's public betting, because if it were true that insider information had gotten out, Crosby would be way more than a minus 135 favorite to come to Chicago. It would just keep getting bet and bet and bet. For example, Fernando Mendoza to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft to the Las Vegas Raiders is minus 1,000. And I would say even that doesn't mean it's a lock or a done deal just yet. So we are not even close to lock territory right now for Maxx Crosby going to the Bears. I think the betting market sees Chicago as the most likely destination for Crosby. Again, like I would, with no inside information, I would push back on that a little bit, just knowing what I know about the National Football League. Could it happen? Yes. Do I think it will happen? No. Time will tell.
And also, too, when Crosby and the quarterback, Caleb Williams, does a podcast together talking about the culture and how they're both wired the same way as head coach Ben Johnson, I mean, that kind of stirs the pot there a little bit, too. For bettors, though, who jumped in at plus 200, I mean, how big of a win would that be compared to betting it now?
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, if you bet $100 at plus 200, you win 200. If you bet 100 at minus 135, you win 100. And stand to lose 135 if you lose your bet. So that's a great job by people. If they did plunk down a couple bucks on Maxx Crosby to come to the Chicago Bears, my sense is that the Bears fans that made that bet probably happier that Crosby will be suiting up on defense for Dennis Allen and the team, as opposed to winning money on that bet.
All right, let's talk some baseball here because we are just a few days into March, and with March comes opening day in just a few weeks. And let's start with the Cubs. If someone wanted to bet the Cubs to win the NL Central, when is the best time to make that bet? Is it now or later in the season?
I think you could probably look to make it now. And I do think the Cubs will make the playoffs. They're a big price to make the playoffs, Tina, at minus 250. And I actually really like their win total right now, which is sitting at 88.5. And I do like the over. And I think it remains to be seen how good the pitching is going to be for the Cubs. When's Justin Steele going to be back? I do think Cade Horton will take a step forward after what he was able to show us last year. But this offense is going to score a million runs this season. And obviously bringing in Alex Bregman is a big deal. So I do think the Cubs get to at least 90 wins this year. The Brewers are going to be really good also. The Cubs are a deserved favorite right now to win the National League Central. I do think the Cubs will make the playoffs, whether it's as a wild card team or as division champion. And I do like them to go over that win total, Tina, 88.5.
So you like the over and you like their odds here at winning the NL Central. They've obviously been super active at really just, in a sense, like adding pieces to this roster. When you look at Alex Bregman here, and when you also look at what they've done from a pitching standpoint, adding more depth. Just overall, what are some other good bets that if you're a better in looking at the Cubs, what are some other bets that people should maybe be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I don't know if I like the Cubs necessarily for postseason awards. Like, I don't know if I would like anyone for MVP. If you wanted to take a shot on Horton for Cy Young, I don't know that I would make that bet, but I also don't hate it. I think for the Cubs, Tina, the one that I would stick with would be that win total over 88 and a half. I think they're going to score a lot of runs this season, and I think probably slug their way to a playoff berth.
Let's talk about the White Sox here. Obviously, a young team, year two with Will Venable. What are some smart future plays for this team?
So what's very funny is I've asked Tina, a bunch of people that I respect, what's your favorite win total bet this Major League Baseball season, including a guy named Jake Hassan, who's done a lot of media locally in Chicago, who I think is a stud baseball analyst and betting expert. And they have kind of all, to a man or woman, said to me that they think the White Sox are going to go over the win total this year and avoid the fourth consecutive 100 loss season, which would obviously extend the record for most in White Sox history. Now, for the White Sox fans out there, that does not mean that anyone thinks the White Sox are going to win 80 games or go finish over 500 or make the playoffs. That's not what the bet is. The bet is, can the White Sox win 67 games? Can they win 68 games? And it feels like bettors think the answer to that question is going to be yes. Now, like the pitching staff is like objectively not great. I like Sir Anthony Dominguez and his addition in the bullpen, and the offense I think has a chance to be pretty good. And I'm into Murakami, the Japanese third baseman that they signed, who was a slugger in the Japanese league. I think he's interesting in American League Rookie of the Year. I don't think the White Sox are a playoff team, but can they win 67, 68 games this year? I say the answer is yes, and people a lot smarter than me with baseball, Tina, also think the answer is yes.
Also agree with you there. I don't think they are a playoff team. However, I do think this is a season where they do not lose more than 100 games here. It seems like everything is really going in the right direction with Will Venable. How do sports books typically price a rebuilding team like the White Sox in future markets?
Yeah, I would say like the White Sox will be a massive underdog to do anything of any significance. A huge underdog to win the AL Central, to win the American. I mean, here would be my suggestion. My Venmo is at the Kostos, which is my social media handle. If people want to bet the White Sox, and I don't even mean this as an insult, you want to bet the White Sox to win the AL Central or the American League or the World Series, send the money to me instead. I'll buy my daughter a present with it.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for your time. We all, of course, always love your betting insights here, and we will talk to you next time.
We appreciate it. Wishing everyone, Tina, minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck.